It has been interesting to be in Georgia for these last couple of months because we've been the center of political attention because of our senatorial elections. And for us to have elected Raphael Warnock to the Senate is a huge, significant dynamic here in the state of Georgia. I don't know that I ever would have dreamed that an African American Baptist minister would have been elected to the Senate. In some ways, it's very similar to folks who saw Trump elected in 2016 and the difference that he would bring as a business person to the White House. Many people supported him for not being a typical politician. Well, it's interesting that Raphael Warnock comes from a different vocation, and that would be that of a Baptist minister. And I've actually worked with Raphael Warnock over the years when I was at Emory, and I had students at his church. So I've been an observer of Ebenezer for quite a while. I actually went to Ebenezer Baptist Church because one of my students was the first female minister to be ordained at Ebenezer Baptist Church in the old church when Joe Roberts was the pastor there. So I've known of Raphael ever since he moved to Atlanta and took over the church. An African-American pastor going to Washington, going into the Senate, should be an interesting mix. The African-American community, the church community, has a rich tradition, both of very strong, soulful music, while also having wonderfully oratory kinds of preaching. I mean, it's some of the most enlivened preaching that you can have. And it'll be interesting having a minister, an African-American minister, in the Senate with the profile that Raphael Warnock has, and with his skill set. He's an excellent preacher and knows how to craft a sermon. And a sermon is very different than a political speech, even though there's probably a thin line between them at certain points, depending on what you're advocating. But the advocating for something is far richer and deeper than just a vote by the Senate or some sort of political campaign is concerned. I'm hoping that Raphael keeps his kind of prophetic stance in the depth and the height that brings to the equation, because you reach deep down into the soul and you reach to the heavens, the celestial heavens, to kind of articulate what the need is, whatever that need may be. And so I hope Raphael does not lose that and actually brings it in its fullness, because I think the public discourse, the political discourse at this point has been so brought to such a standstill that we need something like good preaching to kind of open up the discourse and hopefully allow us to begin to find solutions in the days ahead that we need as a country. So hopefully Raphael will do that for us.